Thank you.
This is Bo, so can you hear me?
No.
Okay. Oh, you can hear me, but turn it on. Can you guys hear me okay?
Very loud.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's
No, it's not.
Hello,
Testing, testing. 1, 2.
I can say hello, and then you guys say we're back. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for this absolutely incredible turnout. The good news is Jade is a member of the fire department, and we do have a capacity limit of 16 on the room, and she's promised to get us absolution. So, thank you all so much for coming. My name is Linda Shore, for those of you who don't know me, and this brilliant idea of capturing stories belongs completely to Jade. So, when she and I were talking, I said, do you need somebody to be like Vanna White? And she said, if you would volunteer, I would be happy to let you be Vanna White. So I'm here primarily because collecting stories is incredibly important to all of us. I know that. I'm the curator of the museum, and a number of efforts have been made by the museum over the years to capture stories. That's a big part of what we do. The thing that makes me so excited about this is that a whole bunch of these people are also my co-workers on the board of the museum, and I haven't heard most of their stories. So I'm really looking forward to this, as I'm sure you all are. We also have in the back Anna Vogt, who's our incredibly talented videographer. So one way or the other, this is going to be preserved. My hope for perpetuity for Beyond Us. My hope is that somehow we can, between maybe spearheaded by the museum, we can actually capture the stories that are being told today in writing and begin a formal project of having them available. Keeping them beyond oral, turning them into written. How's that? So, we would also, everybody has stories here to tell. We've got about an hour and a half. I'd also like there to be questions from the audience, if possible. See if we can put these guys on the spot. I'm going to ask the first question, if that's okay, and then this is going to be a stump the audience presentation question, okay? I would like to know what's its story you believe. What is it that no one in this audience knows about you?
Be honest.
What does no one know about you? So I'm going to pass the microphone around so that everybody, including Binks, can hear. We'll start with this lovely lady. Please just introduce yourself. I think everybody knows you, but introduce yourself and tell us what you think people in the audience don't know about you.
Well, I'm Sylvia Benedict, and I could say I'm a native here in Patagonia, Arizona, because I'll be 71 in November. And what you don't know about me,
We both know.
okay, what you don't know about me is, I just told you I'm a native here, and there's many great stories here in Patagonia, Arizona. And
Is my question too hard? You can...
no, I'm thinking about it. But a lot of these people know me, don't you? Yes. And what do you think of me? That's I want to know now.
I think that's a fair answer.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Let's pass
We
it
don't
on.
want to say, so.
Well, let's pass it to Irman.
Is that an FM system?
Answer the question.
Is that an FM system that
That's-
projects? Okay, can we put it next to the speaker? Next to the
Instead
speaker
of
that's
carrying
projecting back there? The
This thing?
speaker that, so
Yeah.
the speaker behind you, Herman?
Yeah?
No, it's for that
It's for
gentleman
his
that's hearing.
hearing aid.
Right, and I'm wondering,
Next to the speaker, he'll hear
this,
it.
yes, it's
Oh,
next to
okay.
the speaker, right
It
there.
won't work.
It doesn't work right there,
No.
James?
We tried to orchestrate this.
Test.
I just, you can hear some of the feedback, so that's why I was trying to.
Does that work?
All right.
Should be feedback.
Thanks, can you hear me?
No, it's
No, you
okay,
can't.
never mind. I thought if we
Never
never tried
mind.
this.
Pull the car apart.
I'm sorry, Andrew.
Okay. Well, hi everybody, my name is Herman Quiroga, and probably, some of you already know this, but a lot of you don't, that I don't live in Patagonia. I live in Tucson. I've been living in Tucson since 1958. So a lot of my memories are short-term for the first 6 years of my life, but they were the best 6 years that I can recall.
Who didn't know Herman moved in 1958? I didn't know it was that long. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Emma Matus Voss, and I was made at, or started at, the Empire Ranch. My parents both were 21-year-old employees of the Boyce family. And because they were the only married couple, the only cowboys at the time, they got to live in the maid house. And if you go tour the house where the accountant's room is, that was their room. And I understand that that was my beginning. That's what you probably all know about.
We didn't know that.
Okay, here we go to Cindy.
And I'll
Sister.
try to separate. So what you don't know about me is my name. My name is Cynthia Elena Matus, then married Ron Morris. I asked my dad a few years ago, why would you come up with the name Cynthia? Some Latinos, we should have a Maria or another name of Hispanic origin. He goes, oh no, mijita. In 1952, the movie The Snows of Kilimanjaro was out and playing. And it was with, let's see,
Ava Gardner,
and
Gregory Peck.
Well, Eva
They're
Gardner.
sisters, they finish one another's sentences.
And we should not be sitting together. But Ava Gardner's name in the cast was Cynthia Green. And my dad, and I was born in 1953. And so my dad just really fell in love with that name and the movie and how much Gregory Peck suffered, and it was just really made an impression on him. So that's when my name is Cynthia. So in 1953, April 19th, my dad's birthday, there was the big baptism of the children in Santa Cruz County at Sacred Heart Church in Nogales. And it's like a cattle call. They have all these children there, and their ninos and their ninas, and the families are all there, and it's just, you just run you through. And when it came my turn, the priest said, ¿Y cómo se llama la niña? And my mom said, oh, her name is Cynthia. And he said, well, that's not a saint's name. She can't have Cynthia. So my grandfather, Manuel Matus, apparently knew a lot of women because right away he said, se llama Cynthia Elena. And then the priest said, okay, Cynthia Elena will do. So I never did find out where the name Elena came from. Somebody I'm sure that he was very fond of. And so that is something you don't know about me. So Cynthia,
my mom.
Hmm?
Could have been my mom.
And it could have been your mom. That's right. I was thinking, that's right, Elena. It was Altamirano.
Elena Altamirano.
Elena Altamirano Mendoza. See, I do know a few things about your family, Molly.
Well, you better tell that we also share a grandma and grandpa.
And that's correct. Molly, right, we are related, not blood related, but my grandfather, Jose Rivera, married Molly's grandmother, Dolores Altamirano. What was her maiden name?
Altamirano, wasn't it?
Altamirano, okay. And so, but I didn't know this, and we didn't know this until years later when we were looking at grave markers and all of this, and she's up there at the cemetery buried as Dolores A. Rivera. And my grandfather, Jose Rivera, and his wife, my grandmother, Concepcion Soto Rivera, they're buried out in Duquesne. There's a cemetery up there in Duquesne. And if you haven't been up there and you're ready to go see the Lokiel School, check out the Duquesne Cemetery. It's really kind of neat. And there's a lot of stories about that. And lots of things. But anyway, I will move this on to my dear friend, Maureen Sullivan de la Osa.
You gave my story line. How many people know what my maiden name is?
All of us do.
Okay. I was born Maureen Frances Sullivan in Rochester, New York. How many people knew that?
I didn't know you were born in New York.
When I was 2 years old, my dad decided he wanted to come west because he was set on being a cowboy. And the only place to be a cowboy was out west, and he went through Nebraska, sand hills, and was like, nah, this is pretty rough here. Then he went to Montana and he said, we're still in the snow, we need to go further south. So they ended up driving into Patagonia, and I really think fate brought me here. I was meant to be raised here, and I was only 2 years old, and my little brother, I call him my little brother, but he's younger than me. That's the only reason he's little. He was only 5 weeks old when Daddy threw us in a pickup and headed west. And anyway, Daddy went into the Big Steer Bar, which is now the pizza place, and asked some old guys in there on a weekend if there was anybody looking for a cowboy. And they said, yeah, why don't you go out to the San Rafael Valley? So he went out to the San Rafael Valley to Johnny Jones's ranch there in Parker Canyon, and was told if he could catch the horse in the corral and saddle it and ride it, he could have the job. They were rounding up. And from that point on, I was raised out there, went to school in Lokiel.
He caught the horse, right? Was that and saddled it up and rode it?
Yeah, yes, I'm sorry.
Checking.
Yeah, he got the horse, saddled her, and she was a green broke colt. And actually, Daddy worked for what we call the RO, the Green Cattle Company, and he broke colts for Colonel Green. And then he went into riding the border during the hoof and mouth disease time with the government, trying to keep cattle on this right side of the barbed wire fence. It wasn't a big old fence like they're building these days. And he got into law enforcement that way. And I went to school at Lokiel, first grade, and then Mother and Daddy decided to move us to town. And Daddy was the third town marshal here in Patagonia. And I had to repeat. I flunked first grade in Lokiel. I guess it was because I went to school with all those De La Osa kids I played with every day. I didn't
It rubbed off on you.
It did rub off on me big time. I ended up marrying one. But it was a good thing. It turned out to be a good thing. And where do we want to continue from here? Oh. Do I tell my life story right now, or do we come back?
I'll tell you what my story about Maureen, and I think most of you guys know this. She's a postmaster here in town, as you know. She may not remember your name. She will never forget your P.O. box.
That is so true. Because being only 18, soon to be 28, I'm forgetting names. I recognize faces, but I forget names, but I remember the box number, 614. 414.
We got number 1.
That guy.
Before them.
Oh, hey, you're asking me to go along with that.
It was Judge Rothrock.
Oliver Rothrock.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Right.
35 years he had.
Yeah, that's true.
Molly Wright, 714.
Box 3.
Box 3. Oh.
She's gotta see a face first.
Yeah, I gotta see a face first.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Becky's box number.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Becky and Nick Laguna, her sister. Yeah, yep, exactly.
Anyone else have a question for these guys, or should we just let them talk amongst themselves?
So that, I'll pass it back down, but after I flunked first grade in Lokiel, I had to go to first grade again. And I went through elementary school up on the hill, which is now the museum. And I graduated from the high school over here, which is not the way it looks now. It was an old army barracks brought over from Fort Huachuca. And graduated from there in '62. Then went to Flagstaff for 1 year to college to be an accountant, but that was the year I got my partying out of my system and was asked to get married, and came back and married Onofre de la Osa. And we went in the cattle business and raised native Corriente cattle. He and his dad started out by crossing roping cattle out of Mexico. And then we decided to raise our own, and we had a state lease in Tucson, 110 sections. And one of my good state people is sitting back there, who ended up retiring from the department and moved to Elgin. And it's really great to have him. Like I dealt with all kinds of things, cattle issues there, south of I-10 to Sahuarita Road to Wentworth and Nogales Highway. It was a big state lease, and it wasn't developed like it is nowadays with houses everywhere and whatnot. All that open range country is gone. And, but it was 42 years of successful business.
Tell them about the wheelbarrow when you got married.
The wheelbarrow? Oh. You know what? I don't remember that wheelbarrow thing. That must have been the way I got taken to the house or something. Like a bottle of beer. Exactly. Okay. In 1979, I started working for the post office as a PTF, which is a part-time flexible clerk. And then I got appointed postmaster and retired in 2007. And in between all that, raised 5 great kids. I'm so blessed to have such wonderful kids, 2 girls and 3 boys. And they're the biggest help I have nowadays. I would not be doing this well without them, and all my family and my wonderful friends over the years.
I also introduced Maureen as being one of my dearest friends who has her face on the wall in the post office, which is sort of notorious in the big cities, you know.
And recently,
One of those wanted posters, exactly.
and recently that postmaster that's there now took it down. Why? What?
When? You were
It was
there?
about a week ago. I went in, it wasn't there. Okay, so you guys get in there.
It'll be back up. It'll be back up.
Maureen, I noticed it.
Did
I
you?
told them, hey,
Did you?
Maureen, what's up, Martin? I've been here longer than you, and Maureen's been there. Put it up. God, what business taking it?
I asked Albert, and he said he was doing something with it. He didn't know what he was doing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's giving you an appropriate frame.
That was the best job I could have ever had, because in a small community, running a post office, you know everybody personally. And a lady comes in and wants to buy one stamp, you're not going to argue and try and convince her she needs to buy a book just to make money for the postal system. I sold her one stamp. And I handed her mail over the counter if she wanted it. And there's one of my good clerks, Miss Jackie.
I bet Jackie's got some
I have a
stories.
question for Maureen. I want to hear about the outhouse.
Why are all these wheelbarrows and outhouses coming out? The outhouse?
You know about the outhouse,
I'm
right?
not gonna throw her under the bus. else. It'd be George and Yvette, I would do that.
An old boyfriend, a cousin of hers.
Yeah.
Have no idea.
I was told to ask you about the outhouse.
Halloween, everybody used to be turning over the outhouses at Halloween.
Okay.
And there was a story that somebody fell in when they were turning the outhouse over. I'm not sure exactly who it was that fell in the outhouse, but it was a...
Was it me?
I think so.
Remember, I don't have a memory.
We're traumatized by that Halloween.
But they would do that at Halloween. I didn't.
Because you were innocent, Cynthia.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And that's it.
I don't suppose she wants to tell about what's gonna happen when she passes away.
Well, should I? I don't know how cool it is. Okay, we have a family cemetery in Lochiel. It's the Delosa Family Cemetery, up on the hill behind the chapel that the Delosa families built back in 1965. And our younger generation of kids have formed a foundation to protect that area. And anyway, a lot of Delosa families are buried up there, and if you're married to a Delosa, even though you're not a blood relative, you still are buried there. Well, my husband, because he was kind of the funny guy he always was, if anybody knew him, you knew right where he was heading with things many times. He was the life of the party, put it that way. He said when he passed away in 2012 because he just had heart surgery and he decided he had to move a cow from one pasture to another 5 weeks out, and he didn't make it through that day. But he's buried up there, and he's told the boys when they were digging his hole to dig it. Well, before he died, he told them this. Well, they was waiting to go in the hole, for sure. But he said, I want you to dig it really, really deep, because when Mom passes away, I want her buried on top of me. And he says, he talked about this a couple times with me, too. Whoever dies first gets buried in there right side up. And whoever dies gets put in there upside down. So we would be back together. And Molly Wright, I told her that story, an old classmate, or not classmate, but school person, a person I've known forever. I told that to her and some of her sisters one day. And I said, don't tell anybody. It sounds kind of strange, but Molly says, if nobody knows about it on the day you pass away, I'm going to go open your lid and make sure you're upside down.
And now we all
We're all gonna look.
Yeah, you can look for sure. For sure, no worries. Okay, Cindy,
Well, let's
your
see.
turn.
Will you hold this? I have this here. Okay. So we grew up in Harshaw, the Trench Mine, and we went to school in Harshaw. And I found this in my baby book last night, and my mom wrote this. And this is my first day of school. It says, in my first year of school, grammar school, I mean, there were these children in school. That's including myself. So this is the school in Harshaw. We have Emma, my sister, Leona O'Brien, Lupita Mahalka, Ernesto Mahalka, Rosie Quiroga, not your sister, right?
Right.
It'd be Danny's sister. Francis Tapia, Danny Quiroga, he would be Casina's dad, if you know Casina. Agustin Verdugo, Angelita Verdugo, and I have to tell you about her. I was 5, and she must have been 30. But she was a classmate, and we called her the mother, didn't we?
And we're so afraid of her.
We were afraid of her. Let's see, Marta Verdugo, Teresa Verdugo, Carmen Verdugo, Mary Hale, the only, poor thing, the only white person there. Olga Lopez, Amalia Lopez, Jose Luis Lopez, Olivia Lopez, and myself. So we lived up at the trench mine, and Emma and I, and we'd meet other kids along the way, and we would cross the tailings and from the mine, and there was red water, and when it rained, you didn't want to get stuck in it because that stuff would turn like into plaster, you could lose your shoes, and it would cross it to get downhill to the bus stop. And once we got to the bus stop, we'd wait for the bus to come in from Loquillo with all those Velosa kids and pick us kids up and drop us off at Harshaw. And sometimes our dog Kenny would get on the bus and ride to school with us, and then my mom would have to go into the school and pick him up. But it was, my dad built a lean-to on there because it did rain a lot back then, and in the late 50s. And so he built a lean-to to keep us dry. It was just really a lot of fun, and we enjoyed walking with our kids. And like I told my kids, we would walk uphill both ways. But literally, it was a steep walk on that. So anyway, that's what I have, and I wanted you to know the names of the kids that were going to school in
And
Hammond.
obviously playing in tailings back in those days wasn't life-threatening.
Amazing.
Let's go back to this lovely lady.
Okay,
Oops.
well, what did I forget to tell you? Oh, you know, everybody, I told you my name is Sylvia, but my real name is Maria.
Oh, we didn't know that.
Yeah. And,
So you got that baptized in faith?
yes, I did. Yes, I did. Maria Sylvia Benedict. My dad's name was Fred Heredia Benedict. He was born in Nogales, but Rotino Springs is. My mother was Ramona Salceda Benedict. She was born in Alto, Arizona. And in Alto, it was like a town. I'm sure they had a post office there.
They did.
Yeah. And then they came and settled here, and he worked for the mine, and my mom was a homemaker, and we were raised right across the street here. And in this town, everybody knew each other. We were treated like you were related, family. You know, you didn't have to even tell them that you were coming over. You knock on the door, come in. If they had a glass of water to offer you, they did. If they had potatoes in the stove or beans, they would offer it to you. And I went to elementary school. Then I went to PUHS, and like Maureen says, the school was like from Fort Huachuca. I think they brought it from there. And what else could I tell you about Patagonia? Oh, you know where the CHOP homes are going to be built?
Overfield?
Yes. There, at one time, that was our park. Well, we had this park too, but there was a park that the Catholic Church owned. And there was a plane, and there, when the senior citizens apartments are, there was a roller skating rink there. And the kids, all of us played baseball there. And,
The circus, we had the circus there.
oh, in the circus, yeah. Remember Tamborin? Do you guys remember that? And Tamborin, he used to come, he was a clown comedian.
Kind of like Cantinflas.
Cantinflas. And another thing that it came to my mind when Maureen said that her dad worked for the Green Company at the San Rafael Valley. We were related to them. My dad's father, Juan John Benedict, was related to them, and then we were related to Mary Sharp. As a matter of fact, she helped my dad build the house we lived in. What else could I tell you about Patagonia? The Richardson Park, right across from there, where the Ark is, there used to be, was there an ice house there? An ice house?
In the
Across the
back,
street.
in the back there was a little rock ice house.
Yes. Mhm.